You're on. Record this puppy. So kia ora and a huge welcome to our LBC community and our colleagues and of course our presenter Tracey Hancock. My name is Zoe Anderson and I'm one of the support coordinators for the Midlands region. And I'm working from home, but when I'm not, I'm usually at my office on Pembroke Street in Hams. Tracey, we're so thankful to have you again. This is our second session and we're really looking forward to hearing what you have to talk about with us about navigating the twists and turns of this uncertain time through a mix of practical strategies and helpful tips to address our concerns in managing the stress and anxiety surrounding COVID-19 and living within this lockdown level 4 dealio. People, you are more than welcome to ask questions. Down the bottom of the screen, there is a Q&A tab. So if you just click on that and you can type your questions and then Tracey and I can see them as they come in and Trace will answer them. So with further ado, thank you very much, Tracey, for being with us again.
It's an absolute pleasure. And, you know, this morning I was thinking, what am I going to do when these are over? Like, what am I going to do with myself? Going up. Well, now I can hear someone typing. Who do we think that is?
I'll tell you what, Tracey. Look, we've got our first comment from Michael, and he is watching you from the Lomas building.
Oh
at
my
the
God.
hospital.
Over in Waikato. I know that place well. Hey, Michael, nice to have you joining us and tuning in. So just taking a breath. The mighty Waikato. Yeah, all of New Zealand's fantastic, but you know, I am a little biased to the Waikato, I've got to say. But greetings to everyone around the country, and so good to be here today. And look, Zoe and I had so much feedback after the last session about what you found useful, and some questions and comments that you wondered if we could dive into. So we've had a look at those, and from what you've sent in, we pulled out 3 themes that we thought would be useful for today. The first one was about anxiety and, you know, what to do about anxiety, and not just your own, because the people around you, the people who love and care about you, are perhaps a bit anxious as well, and that's coming into your kind of space as well. So we're going to talk about anxiety. The second thing was motivation. Like some of you were saying you just feel like you're lacking motivation, like your mojo's kind of packed up, moved out, and you're not sure where it's gone. And we know we can't go outside looking for it because we're in our bubbles. So we're going to talk a little bit about motivation. And tied in with that, also coming up was some questions around routines and maybe getting a bit bored and fidgety because we're now 2 weeks in. And the third thing that we thought we could talk about was shoulds. And a lot of people are experiencing this, what I call shoulding. We're shoulding all over ourselves. I should be doing more. I should keep going. I should feel like, however, not like this. So I want to talk about shoulds and where they come from, because they're not actually all that healthy or helpful, and we want to kick those to the curb pretty quickly. So does that hopefully that sounds good?
Yeah,
and
that sounds great.
Awesome. So anxiety, motivation, and those shoulds. So it's going to be a big session. As Zoe said, make sure you put your questions and your comments there, and we'll keep an eye on those as well, because we want to make sure this is really relevant and usable for you now. I reckon, Zoe, we should just take a little bit of a breath here. And you are just looking gorgeous in that colour today. It's a beautiful, restful, lovely colour. And what we want to do is just settle in. Just settle in and get comfortable. And, you know, while we're on this call together, whether you're watching it live or in the replay, you, me, Zoe, there in her gorgeous coloured top, we're all in a virtual bubble. So you're here with us, and right in this moment, you're safe. You're with us. We're keeping an eye on you. We're here for you. And I want you to feel that love that we're sending out, and that sense of, you can just breathe out just for a moment, because in this bubble, we're going to be talking about some things that will help you feel calmer, safer, stronger, whatever it is you want to feel. So welcome to our virtual bubble today, okay? And you may have had a busy morning. Perhaps you've been doing a lot, or maybe you've been a bit worried this morning about something. Or perhaps you've had a really good morning and you're feeling okay. So I want you to know that whatever you're feeling at the moment is okay. That's right for you. So perhaps, and I'm going to do this as well, you might want to just wriggle around in your seat a little bit, move those shoulders, get comfy. I wore a skirt today because I felt like dressing up, but I've realised that that's a bit scratchy on my chair, so I'll just move that skirt around, make sure I'm comfy. So just get yourself nice and comfortable, because there's no point sitting there and going, ugh. And then once you're comfortable, just take a breath in. I just want you to breathe in. You don't have to go like this. Just a gentle breath in through your nose if you can, all the way down to your tummy, and then bring it all the way back out. So we're just going to inhale gently and exhale. So nothing fancy required. We're just breathing in and out. So at any time when you're feeling worried or anxious, know that you can return to your breath. And just like we did now, you can just adjust yourself. You can just move around a little bit. It doesn't have to be big movements. It can just be a bit of a shuffle, and just return to your breath. And it's going to be nice and grounding and centering. And it's really going to be, I think, one of your go-to strategies at any stage. I know both Zoe and I are big fans of breathing and use it a lot in our own life. So please don't think that, for me as a coach, I often have people say, oh, you must have it all together. I'm like, oh no, no, I'm human like you. And I have days where breathing is definitely my best friend, and I'm sure the same is true for Zoe. We just go,
amen, yes,
amen to that.
yeah.
Okay, so just remember, we're here in your virtual bubble. This is about you, for you, and I trust what we're going to share is useful for you now. So I said we were going to talk about 3 things, and the first one was anxiety. So you may or may not know what I'm about to share, and if you do, consider this a reminder. If it's new information to you, just approach it with a really curious mind, a willingness to listen and just mull over what I'm sharing. And Zoe's probably going to pop up with a few comments every now and then as well. So just be curious about what we're sharing and just think about how that relates to you. So anxiety is when we're worried about something in the future. When we're anxious, we're thinking about something that may happen out there in the future. And the word may is really important, because we're trying to foretell the future and go, what if this happens? This is going to happen. And so we project ourselves out into the future, and we worry about something that may occur. Now, our brain, bless it, wants to keep us safe. And so what it's doing is thinking about all the threats and all the danger, all the things that could happen, and it wants to protect you from that. And that's where some of these thoughts come in, because the brain thinks if I throw up all these doubts and worries, I'll keep you safe. The problem with that is, and we talked about this last week as well, that the worst case scenario will pop into your head as quick as anything. It'll just be there without you even having to think too much about it at all. This is simply your brain trying to keep you safe. So it's throwing up that worst case scenario. The problem with this is it just feeds our worry, and we become more and more and more stressed and worried. And in coaching terms, we would say that we've moved into an unresourceful state. We're so tied up in all the worry and what might happen in the future that we're not able to access like our rational thinking part of our brain. So we've become unresourceful. We're very fearful, and we're just doing anything, and we're feeling on edge, and we might be being a bit mean or rude to people. Not that we intend to be, it's just because we're fearful. So anxiety is when we're thinking about the future, it inevitably means we're thinking about the worst case scenario and we're panicking. And your brain is going, okay, I need to give them more of the worst case scenario because that's going to keep them safe. But it doesn't. Because it just keeps you in a state of fear. Yeah.
I can so identify with that, Tracey.
Yeah. Yeah.
As you know, I'm not that confident with technology. So setting up this webinar and making sure I've got those that should be muted, those on the screen that should be, and questions are coming up. So I'm nearly, like you were just saying, I'm jumping into the future. What happens if this doesn't go right? Oh my gosh, I've already got a question. And actually, the questions will come and we will answer them. And everything is as it should be. You're on the screen and everyone can hear us.
Yeah. And you know, if something does happen, we'll respond to it when it happens. Yeah.
Good reminder. It keeps my heart slow it down.
Yeah. And you're much more resourceful then, because then you're going, right, at this moment, it's okay. I'm doing what I need to be doing. I've got, got Tim and the other LBC team members there. If something goes terribly wrong, we can call on some help. So when we're in a resourceful state, we're better positioned to manage whatever happens. So right now we're all good. If something were to change, then we would take an action. And that's going to be so much more helpful than if we stay in the state of panic. So we can manage our anxiety by acknowledging how we feel. I feel anxious. And we don't have to beat ourselves up. Like, you don't need to beat yourself up and go, oh my God, the technology and I'm hopeless. And, we tend to get into that self-beat up state, and then all of a sudden things just feel so much worse and we're so much more stressed. Just acknowledge it. I'm feeling anxious. What am I worried about? What am I worrying about? And write that down. Write it down and go, so I'm worried about this technology, or I'm worried about this virus. So as we start to think about it, go, so what can I do? So right now, Zoe, we just need your lovely self there, ready to contribute, your thoughts and your comments. And if something should arise, then we'll deal with that. And similarly with this virus, we will just need to be focusing on taking good care of ourselves, because that's what we can control. We can wash our hands. We can think about where we're going. We can think about what we're doing to look after ourselves. But if we're in an unresourceful state because we're anxious and we're going, what about the other 3.9 million people in New Zealand who aren't doing the right thing? And we can start to worry about everyone out there and what they're all doing or what they're not doing. We can start to imagine ourselves in the middle of a supermarket packed full of people, and we can start to create these stories, and they're not helpful. So if we can go, I'm feeling anxious. What am I anxious about? What can I control? So Zoe gave that fantastic example of the technology. Right now, she's watching the monitor. She's looking for questions. So she's managing and controlling what is within her control. Now, if for example, the Wi-Fi goes down, we can't control that. We'll respond when that happens. Similarly, when you're thinking about the virus, what is it you can control? What is it that you can do for yourself and the people in your bubble to stay safe? Because we can't control what other people are doing. We can't reach out and tell those other 3.9 million or however many New Zealanders there are to behave and wash their hands and do all that. We can't do that. We can look after ourselves and make sure, we're not putting ourselves at risk. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sure does.
So do you think, so you may have noticed this or experienced it, but I've used the word control, and I'm really wary of using that because control can become unhealthy. We can try and control people. We can control over people. We can, I guess, try and manipulate people. And we're not doing it because we're bad. We're doing it because we're afraid. So when I talk about control, I'd love for people to think about this in terms of, because I love and care for myself and the other people in the bubble, what can I control? What can I do? Instead of going, I'm really scared, what can I do? And you become overbearing and, you know, just snappy and a bit short with people. So we want to watch the control, that it's a healthy control, not an unhealthy control. Yeah. It's a bit of a difference there.
Yeah, that's good food for thought, that. Because that's where you naturally resource to, don't you? When you feel out of control, or that you're, there's so much coming at us, isn't there? Because there's so much information on social media and TV, and some of that stuff we can't control, but I can control what I'm doing in my bubble and how I'm responding to the people in my bubble.
That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so we want to use that control from a healthy point of view, from a, you know, how can I help myself and the people in my bubble, just as you said, not in a, oh my God, I have to micromanage them and follow them around and make them wash their hands for like 20 seconds and like be really in there and be overbearing. So we want to watch that control. And at the same time, please don't criticize yourself if you feel like you've been overly controlling and overly tough on people, because you were in a state of fear. It's a fear-based reaction. So we want to start bringing ourselves into a space where we're resourceful, where we're more aware of what we can do for ourselves, what we can do in our bubble, where we're being kind and compassionate, rather than being so wound up like we're ready to explode at the smallest thing. Yeah. So that's a bit about anxiety, you know, that's worrying about the future. And we can control our thoughts. We can go, yeah, that's out there in the future. Let me write down what I'm worried about. Gee, I'm worried about getting sick. I'm worried about getting the virus. Okay, so what can I do in this moment now? Where I am, within my control, what can I do now? Because the future's going to take care of itself. We're not there yet. We're here. So what can we do here? So we want to watch that story, what we're telling ourselves, and bring our attention back to right now. And one of the great ways to do that is through breathing. We just calm ourselves and bring ourselves back to the moment. So do you think there's anything else about anxiety that I haven't mentioned, or that people might have asked about?
No, I think that sounds great. I'm just writing it down actually, Tracey, about what I can do right now, because we've got a question already around reducing the anxiety associated with the mighty supermarket shop during lockdown. Finding that I feel tense and hypervigilant during these weekly trips. Kia ora, lovely ladies.
My gosh, I went supermarket shopping for the first time the other day, and I found that I was holding my breath.
Yeah.
I was walking around holding my breath. And when I noticed that, it's okay to breathe. Keep the 2 meter distance. If someone appears to be, coughing or not so well, I'm going to another aisle. So what can I do in that moment to keep myself as safe as possible? And if I had felt really unsafe, I would have just left, because there will always be another way. And this is where, if we're in a resourceful place, if we're going, what can I do? When we're in this place, what are my options? Instead of going, I have to do this, I have to stay, I have to get the groceries, we can go, actually, I'm choosing to not. I'm choosing to leave, I'm choosing to go to another aisle, I'm choosing to do whatever. The other thing about that is, in the lead up to going shopping, we can work ourselves up. We can get quite stressed and anxious thinking about going shopping. So we need to reframe that. If I said you need to, which sounds really bossy, and I didn't mean to sound bossy, but you can reframe that thinking and going, I'm going to the supermarket. What can I do to keep myself as safe as possible? Instead of going, I'm going to the supermarket, it's going to be awful and I'm freaking out and I'm worried. And it's like, okay, I'm pausing and breathing.
Yeah.
I'm going to the supermarket. I have a list. I am focused. And I think, Zoe, you and I talked about supermarkets the other day, that, you know, have your list, be focused on this. And so when you get there, if you're needing broccoli, eye them up, find the one you want, reach and grab it, put it in your trolley and keep going. Yeah.
Absolutely. That is exactly what I do.
Yeah.
And I'm like you, Tracey, if I go in and I'm like a couple of aisles in, if I'm like, there's 6 people in this aisle, I will come back to this one later.
Mm-hmm.
And I just maneuver myself to make sure I'm safe.
Yeah.
Other people can do what they like, but I'm thinking about my 2 meters. I'm not touching what I don't need to touch.
Mm-hmm.
And if I'm honest, I take my music in with me, because that I find keeps me nice and calm.
Well, there you go. Great technique. And so for anybody else, you know, think about what are you thinking or feeling in the lead up to going shopping? How can you help yourself feel calmer? So like I'm a big fan of a cup of tea. That's kind of my go-to. Yeah. So if I'm starting to feel worried, I'll go, right, I'm just going to sit down, I'm going to have a cup of tea, I'm going to think about this, and I'm going to bring myself back into this moment. So look at your routine or your ritual before you go shopping. How can you put yourself in the most resourceful state to go to the supermarket? And then make those choices. In every moment you can make a choice. The other thing, of course, is to look at the options, the online shopping with your special code. I know that certainly in the Waikato, because I'm seeing that happening, we've got emergency contact numbers where you can phone and say that you need someone to get your groceries. So it's not like a click and collect, but someone, I think, will actually go and get it. So what are the options? If you feel like supermarket shopping is just too much, what are your options? And so this all comes back to that resourceful state. Pause and breathe. What can I do? What can I control? How can I help myself? You take your music to the supermarket. You know, wear your lucky undies. Wear your favourite piece of jewellery that makes you feel strong. You know, whatever it is you need to do to feel calm, to feel okay and safe. Ooh, I think we can pause and breathe on that one. Let out any anxiety you might have been feeling. And just breathe that out and just bring yourself back to here and now. And a little tip, so I don't know if you've ever used this, but if you're feeling particularly anxious or stressed, what you can do is just take a look around you and notice 5 things that you can see. And you might notice some things that you can smell, some things that you can feel. So I've got my candle. Ah, that's hot. So I've got my candle there. Best not to pick it up when it's been burning. But if you notice and use all of your senses, you're going to bring yourself, it was ouch. You're going to bring yourself back into this moment. Because remember, when you're anxious, you're out into the future. Notice what you see, what you can smell, what you can touch, as long as there's no danger involved. Use those senses to bring yourself back to now. It's really, really powerful. Ooh. Just to do a little bit of a shake as we move to our next topic. Motivation. Oh, how's your motivation levels today, Zoe? Are you happy to share?
I am feeling good today. Last week I really struggled because I was picking up all this new technology and learning to work from home. And what's my space, workspace? What's my home space when my husband's home and I have to, you know, lovingly make him go down to the garage because he makes too much noise. The last week was heightened and really hard at times to make all the calls and stuff, but this week I'm feeling so much more settled. And we've just had an awesome Zoom meeting with our CEO, and he was all about look after yourself and look after our patients. So I've just had all this beautiful affirmation from you know, from our CEO, who's just got his finger on the pulse. So that's actually helped to know the fundraising team are still doing the best that they can do, and our marketing team are doing heaps of Facebook stuff, getting ready for some new launching of things. So I've totally bought into that. I'm like, yeah. So I'm feeling great today. Yeah.
Excellent, excellent. And, it's good to remember, isn't it? Like, last week you perhaps weren't feeling so motivated. This week, today, you're feeling more motivated. Motivation's going to, it's kind of like I was doing a roller coaster. I was actually meaning to do like waves. It can come and go, and that's natural. We're not designed to feel 100% motivated on the go all the time. And I think what's happening now in this situation is people are going, I'm not feeling like motivated and I'm not doing all these things and I should be, and kind of putting even more pressure on ourselves. So again, even for myself, I'm noticing my motivation is sort of going up and down, coming in and out.
Absolutely. That's why I think I've really noticed it today, going, yes, because I have had days or even just hours in the day where I'm like, yeah, nah. I feel, and like you've just been talking about, I feel like I should be doing this and I should be, and which just puts more pressure on myself.
Yeah.
When actually I should make a cup of tea. Yeah.
We're choosing to make a cup of tea.
Yeah.
And again, if we think about that anxiety, we have all that pressure, it's just driving anxiety as well. So motivation is your motive for doing something. It is the reason you take action. And so what happens is when we've had a fright or, like we've just been forced into the state of change, and for many of you who were already, vulnerable in terms of your health, this has kind of heightened your awareness of that. So what can happen is we get so caught up in everything that's going on, we disconnect from what's important to us. We disconnect from our truth. And so what I mean by that is, the things that we value, the things that are important to us, the things that we would normally be focusing on, like if we've got any goals or priorities or, and they don't need to be, when I say goals and priorities, they don't need to be formally written down or anything. They might just be, you place an emphasis on caring for your family or looking after your health or whatever it is. But because there's been so much going on, we can disconnect from those things. We forget why we do what we do when we're feeling good. So motivation, your motive for doing something, will be affected by what's going on. So all we need to do is bring our attention back to it. So Zoe, I imagine for you and and everything that's been happening, there's been a lot of change personally and from a work perspective. Refocusing on what's my role, how can I help, how can I contribute, actually naturally leads to an increased sense of motivation because you're back focusing on what's important to you. You've moved through all the, oh my gosh, everything's changing, and you're refocusing on your why. You're refocusing on what's important to you. You're refocusing on what you value. So if you're feeling like your motivation mojo has left the country, what you might like to do is refocus on what you value, what matters to you, any goals or priorities. And then go, okay, so these are the things that are important to me. What are 3 things that I could do today that align with what matters to me and what I value? So we don't need to have like this massive long to-do list with 101 things. But let's say, you've been lacking motivation, you're sort of getting fidgety, you're just sifting through the day, and let's say you really value your family and friends, and you realise, gee, I haven't really talked to any of my family or friends. You might have had a quick conversation, but I haven't really been present for that. You might today choose to contact someone and just have a really beautiful conversation. You might choose to refocus on a goal or a priority. Maybe you've been learning something. Maybe you've been, doing something at home, in the garden, whatever it is. Your motivation will naturally start to build when you refocus on what's important to you. Yeah, it's an interesting thing. And remember that motivation's just going to wane and wax and wane. It's going to come in and out. Maybe it's because you're tired. Maybe it's because you've started to worry about the future. Just acknowledge that and then come back to So what's important in this moment? Motivation is your motive for doing something. When you reconnect with what's important to you and choose to do things that align with that fit with that, you're going to notice that you're feeling more motivated, you're feeling more settled, you're feeling more in flow. And that's going to make a big difference, isn't it? Because there's nothing worse at the moment in particular, feeling like you're just sifting through the day, getting to the end of the day going, I've just lied on the couch all day. Yeah, let me just reframe, let me just talk to that, because I appreciate that for some people, you might be having treatment, so you might be lying on the couch, and that's the right thing to do. Okay, so I'm not saying don't do that. So how, motivation, your motive for doing something. Whew. Think about that one, write it down, and then choose 3 actions that you can take today. They don't need to be big, they could be small actions, and just follow through on those actions. Yeah.
Great comment here. So it can help to have some of those tasks that are easy to knock off.
Yeah. Because like as humans, again, this is all about our brain. We're actually wired for making progress. So if we're ticking off some of those small tasks and we feel like we're making progress, maybe like in the weekend I wanted to clean up my office because it just felt a bit cluttered. And it didn't take too long, but it was amazing. I felt like I'd made progress, the space felt better, and I just felt more settled. So beautiful comment. Yep, tick some of those things off. It's not about jam-packing your day with things to do. That's not what this is about. But if you were to choose some things and go, right, I'm going to spend the next hour doing these things, or maybe you choose to spread some things through your day, doing those is really going to make a difference. Beautiful. Yeah. So hopefully then everyone can think of some things that they'd like to do today. It might be napping, it might be reading, it might be doing some work, it might be cleaning out a cupboard. There is no right or wrong. And I really want you all to know that. There is no right or wrong. You need to choose what's best for you. What's best for you today. So you're the best person to judge that. You're the best person to decide that. Yeah. And you know what? When you're focused on doing those things, you're also not going to be anxious because you're focused on those jobs at hand. It's pretty powerful. So your motivation for taking action, tune into that, tune into what's important for you. What are your values? Any goals or priorities? And yeah, write a little list, 3 things that you want to do today. And at the end of the day, acknowledge yourself for doing those. I feel like we want to slip in gratitude here as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah, like at the end of the day, remembering acknowledging what you're grateful for. I'm grateful for the way in which I did those tasks today. I'm grateful for my health. I'm grateful for my family, whatever it is. I feel like that might fit in nicely with the motivation.
Yeah. Yes, because I'm grateful for the amazing conversations I get to have with our patients, family members, other health practitioners, the nurses up at the hospital who are keeping me up to date with what's happening on the ward. And I send out emails, Tracey, like to each region to go, hey, this is what we're doing, this is where we're up to. And it's unbelievable. I'm the support coordinator, but you should see the emails that I'm getting back. Hey, Zoe, we're doing this, this, and this. We're really safe in our bubble. I hope you and your team are really looking after yourselves. We appreciate everything that LBC does for us. Seriously, the amount of emails I'm getting blows my mind.
Wow.
I don't have a blood cancer, and I'm not going through treatment, and I'm not trying to navigate getting up to have my chemo or dealing with nausea and vomiting and going down to one wage. But I'm the one who gets all these amazing emails from these people. So, that makes you feel humble and grateful, and we're all so connected in this at this time.
We are, and that's I just want to say there's so much to be grateful for, and I don't want to dismiss the extent of what people are feeling, but you know, it is incredible what there is to be grateful for. Yeah, I'm grateful for beautiful sunrises. Yeah, Michael, I'm hearing that. I love a beautiful sunrise. It just fills me with hope and reminds me of the beauty of nature. So I think gratitude is a beautiful practice. If you don't already, take the time, you know, at the end of the day, throughout the day, whenever you like, to just notice what you're grateful, write that down. And again, this is going to help with that anxiety and stress, because we're balancing the picture. We're not just focusing on all the things that are wrong and all the things we can't control and all of that. We're actually bringing in what we can control, what we do know, what we can do, what we are grateful for. We're starting to see the whole picture. We're not just focusing on the bad stuff, which drives up anxiety and worry and fear. So your gratitude. Oh, wow. I love how these insights come out as we're talking. So kind of tied in with this are shoulds. And I'm hearing this a lot from people, a lot. And we are shoulding all over ourselves.
Yeah.
You know, I should be doing more. I should have this all sorted. I should be, you know, really together about the grocery shopping. I should be feeling this way. I should be happy. I should be positive. And I just think the shoulds can be so destructive. Yeah.
Absolutely. Last week I said, Trace, you know, I'd had to pull back on social media because of it was just COVID overload for me. I'm like, it was too much information, and you know, most of it was a load of rubbish, just people's opinions and the memes and all that sort of stuff. But this week I'm having to still pull back from social media because there is so much stuff about it's a time to get back to basics and a time to be with family and reflect on who you are and what we're doing, and time to be mindful and do yoga and, you know, spring clean your house and get back to baking. And I'm like, oh, I can't cope with all of this. It's nearly like a social pressure that I should be doing all these things when really just getting up and going for a walk and coming in here and coming to work, and some of those are my basic things. Not the not so much of the yoga, mindfulness, spring cleaning, gardening, baking.
And of course, you should be all doing all of that without any meltdowns, no tantrums, without, you know, getting your hair out of place. It's setting us up for disappointment, frustration, stress, more anxiety, more fear. So really picking up on your comment there about managing your media, like put yourself on a media diet and choose who you listen to. Choose carefully who you're listening to. And because these shoulds, that they come from a position where we compare ourselves and what we're doing and where we're at with something we think is what everyone's doing. Like everyone has this all together. Everyone has this all sorted. Everyone's doing this right. Everyone's making the most of this opportunity. I should have more time because I'm working from home, or, you know, all these things, and it creates pressure. So we need to push these shoulds to one side. We're going to acknowledge them and go, thank you, but no thank you. I don't need you in my life, because we need to come back to what's important to you. How are you feeling? I know when I was going through chemo, there's some days I was just thankful that I managed to get up, change my knickers, brush my teeth. And that was a win. Right? And I'm sure there are people out there that can relate to that. They, you know, some days that's enough. That's all that's going to happen that day. And then you go back to bed. So we need to be mindful of where are you at? What's your situation? Because what we do is we tell ourselves stories and we go, I should be like that person who's got it all together. Well, we don't know much about that person anyway. We don't know their backstory, what's going on in their life. So we just need to focus on our own lane. Where are we at? What can we do today? What matters to us? What's our priority? And focus there. Because there's no right or wrong. There's no book that we can go and get from Amazon or any of those places that says, right, on this day, you should be doing these things. There's nothing like that. We need to be guided by where we're at, what's important to us, and what we need to be doing. The shoulds are coming from us thinking that we've got to meet some standard that's often a story we've created. Like, you might see a person. So, I'm a business owner, I'm on social media, I see people doing incredible social media 6 or 7 times a day. Now, it'd be easy for me to say, oh my God, I should be on social media 6 or 7 times a day, and that's going to create a whole lot of pressure. But they've got a big team of 20 people, I've got one. So me comparing myself to a business owner with a social media team with 20 people in is just, it's silly. And not that I'm silly, the concept is silly. So respect where you're at. Go, this is what's going on in my world. I'm in the midst of treatment. I've just finished treatment. I've just been diagnosed. Where am I at? What's my priority right now? What's most important to me? And this is all about permission. If we can verbalize to ourselves, I give myself permission to do what's best for me. Because that story about what you should be doing, you're comparing yourself to some ideal image, standard, something that isn't realistic. It isn't realistic for you. So the shoulds are going to derail you. They're going to drive up that stress, the anxiety. And of course, anything that drives up your stress and anxiety creates a stress response, which is going to impact on your health. Now, I imagine everyone that's listening has a high priority on supporting their health right now. So what you could choose to do is focus on where are you at and what do you need to be doing for you. And I very deliberately used my language there. So this is another brain tip. It's a mindset hack, for lack of a better word. We want to be choosing our language. Instead of saying I should, you could say I choose. I choose to prioritize my health today. Okay, if I'm choosing to prioritize my health, what does that look like? I'm going to nap. I'm going to ask someone to go and get my groceries, and I'm going to meditate. Because when I talk about health, it's emotional, mental, physical, and spiritual. It's all those aspects that get taken care of when I think about health. So choosing your language is very important. Instead of I should, or I have to, or I must, I'm choosing. I'm choosing what's best for me. I'm choosing to prioritize my health. I'm choosing to prioritize the people in my bubble. It's really, really powerful and much more supportive than I should, which almost sounds like there's a teacher pointing their finger at you going, you've been a naughty boy or a naughty girl and you're not living up to the standard. Set your own standard. What is it you need in this moment now? Yeah. Because I think we've all suffered from I shoulditis.
Absolutely. There's good comments saying I should, in capital letters, have more time because I'm working from home.
Yeah.
And someone else is talking about gratitude journals. That's what they're using.
Yeah, beautiful. And again, you know your situation best. So what I like to call this like your personal stock take. So in shops, they go around and they count everything on the shelves, and then they get a record of, well, at this moment, where are we at? How many cans of baked beans do we have? How many bags of potatoes do we have? So they do a stock take. We can do a personal stock take and go, where am I at? And you might extend that out to, where are the people in my bubble at? What's going on for us? Gee, I've got to go to the hospital for treatment however many days a week or a fortnight or whatever it is. we've got, the kids to think about in school. So if you did your own personal stock take of what's going on in your life now, what are your kind of priorities, what are your needs? If you did that stock take and then go, okay, so knowing what I know, what do I choose to do? Rather than going, right, I should be out there walking 2 kilometers every day, when the reality is it's a struggle to walk to the bathroom because you're unwell, because you're going through treatment. Like, be realistic about your situation now. Do your own personal stock take and create a plan or an approach that's right for you, because no one else is you. Shoulds come about when we're comparing ourselves to something or someone else, some other standard. This is about staying in your own lane. Permission to focus on what you need. And notice where your mind goes. If you start to go, I should, then notice it, acknowledge it, and come back to, okay, what is it that I choose to do? And so some people might be going, but thoughts just happen on their own and I can't control that. So, again, I think we've all experienced this when we go, thoughts have their own mind. They just do their own thing. We actually have the power to control our thoughts. So if you find yourself going, I should, you can teach yourself to stop and go, hang on a minute. What is it that I'm going to choose to do? So become mindful of our stories, mindful of our words, and we don't have to tell ourselves off like some naughty child. We don't have to give ourselves a hard time. We can just simply go, oh, I noticed that I was about to say I should. What is it that I'm choosing to do? So do your own personal stock take. Where are you at? What are your priorities? What are your, what are the things that you need to do for you in this moment now?
I'm loving that, Tracey. I love that whole, because I'm so visual. I love that staying in my own lane. Because that actually, I can picture that, and I can see other people in their lanes, and they look so different to mine, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Yeah. So the other thing, I remember learning to drive as a teenager, and the driving instructor would say to me, it's okay to be aware of everyone else around you, but if you're focusing on everyone else, you're going to cause an accident. You're going to be focusing so much on other people. So stay in your own lane. Focus on what you're doing in this moment. Be aware of your environment, but what do you need to be doing? Focus on what you need to be doing. So stay in your own lane. Yeah. And there's just going back to where we were talking about these mindset language patterns and words. So if you are noticing yourself saying, I should, you could, if it feels right for you, say, okay, I'm acknowledging that should. Thank you for highlighting that for me. I'm choosing to think this. I'm choosing to take this action. So this is what I was saying about, you don't need to give yourself a hard time or beat yourself up for going, oh God, I keep saying I should and I keep putting myself under pressure. It's just like, okay, I've noticed that. Now I'm choosing to do something else. Stay in your own lane. Do your stock take. What do you need? Focus on that. That's going to help with your anxiety. That's going to help with your motivation. And it's just going to help you feel stronger and more in control in a healthy way. You're going to be more focused on what you can do to help yourself. Yeah. So those 3 topics ended up really nicely tying into each other. And of course, we inserted gratitude as well. And there is a practice that's quite useful, noticing what you're grateful for.
All linking together.
All linking together.
Yeah.
So I'd really encourage people, once they get off the call and or finish listening to the replay, to do their own stock take, to think about how they're feeling, what they're thinking, where they're at, what they need to prioritize. And you don't have to do everything at once. You don't have to go, right, now I know all this stuff, I've got to leap over here and have, it all perfectly sorted. No, you just think 3 small steps. Just take 3 small steps this afternoon. And they literally can be really tiny, but we're going to get a sense of progress. You're showing your brain, yep, I can do this. I can take those steps. And then tomorrow we do the same. Where am I at today? And if any fears or worries come up, you can thank them for coming up, and you can acknowledge them and say, right, what were you trying to teach me? What were you trying to show me? What were you highlighting for me? Now I'm choosing to do this. I'm choosing to refocus on what's important to me and what I need now, and take it day at a time, hour by hour. Sometimes I am pausing and breathing and resetting each hour, depending on what's happening. Wow, gosh. So we've covered a whole heap of tips and tools and things in there. I think we just take a breath. I think Zoe's mulling those over and seeing.
I'm definitely going to do a stock take when we finish. I love that, because again, you know, I'm so visual. That's really going to work for me. Thank you, Tracey.
You're welcome. And look, everything we've talked about isn't just virus lockdown specific. These are all techniques that we can use anytime at all. They're all about us helping ourselves. We're really putting ourselves in the driver's seat of our life, because what tends to happen is we give away our personal power. We forget that we can actually take some control and some responsibility. So these things that we've talked about, applicable at any time. Yeah.
There is a question, Tracey, about mindfulness.
Yeah.
And I won't be a sec. What are some simple mindfulness practices?
Okay. Wow. So mindfulness is a practice where you are mindful of the moment. You are in the present moment. And so mindfulness, meditation is an example of mindfulness. You could use meditation. But you could also, from a mindfulness point of view, you could also sit down and have a cup of tea and give your attention to having the cup of tea. You could notice how the cup feels. You could notice the smell. You could notice the taste. You could notice the temperature. So your mindfulness is being present to the moment now. So you can be mindful doing the dishes. You can be mindful mowing the lawns, going for a walk. You give your attention to this moment now. So I think sometimes people think mindfulness is, you know, some sort of secret society thing, and you've got to study and train. But it is simply being present to the moment. Whatever it is you're doing, being so focused and present in this moment now. And you might notice your mind wanders off, and maybe you start to think some thoughts. But the thing with mindfulness is you just acknowledge those thoughts. Thank you, thought. Now I let you go. So we don't hold on to the thoughts, we just allow them to move through. So in terms of the visual image of that, if you were outside looking at the sky and there were clouds moving through the sky, you don't reach up and grab those clouds and say, cloud, stay, don't move, you're not leaving. We don't grab hold of those clouds. Our thoughts are like clouds. When we're being mindful, we're sitting drinking a cup of tea and a thought comes into our mind, we acknowledge it, we think it, and we let it go, and we continue to focus on the tea. So mindfulness is a practice of being present in the moment now. Yeah. Hopefully that has answered the question or given some insight into mindfulness. Anything else there, Zoe?
And just just back to the shopping. Excuse me, Tracey. So you know how you spoke about all the things that you can do to keep yourself safe.
Yes.
Are there any other strategies for minimizing the risk from other people?
But I think, Zoe, you shared a suggestion around this. Like if you see a whole lot of people in an aisle, you avoid the aisle. You choose to go to the next one and then come back. So it's about having that awareness of the environment. So not being so tunnel vision that you're not seeing what's going on around you. It's about lifting your gaze and being aware of the environment and going, okay, I think that feels a bit risky over there. There's some people congregating. I'm going to move around there. You can also be aware that if you're starting to panic, if you're starting to get quite anxious, you might just want to take a pause and just refocus on your breath. Just bring that breathing into, a gentle kind of rhythm, and then go, okay, so what am I telling myself? What am I thinking? What are those thoughts? Acknowledge the thoughts, and then go, okay, I'm panicking that those people might all have the virus. Okay, well, I don't know that. I don't know that for sure, and I certainly can't stand there and yell out to everyone and say, have you got the virus? So it's again a case of choosing what you'll do next. If you're feeling calmer, you've settled your breath, you've acknowledged that you're thinking about, those people might be sick, choosing what you do now. Am I going to stay in the supermarket, or do I need to just leave? Am I going to go to a different place? Yeah. So give yourself that moment to come back to this moment, to be mindful, to be present. If you're holding a trolley or a basket, notice how that feels. Yeah. So there are a couple of tips. Any other questions coming through?
No, that's it, I think, Tracey. I'm just having a quick squiz to make sure we've answered all these.
All right. Well, just while you do that, of course, we've got Easter coming up this weekend. And so, another beautiful strategy that you can use is to think ahead. And, do you want to do a little something special at home for Easter? Do you, have a little ritual or routine or family tradition or something that you want to do for Easter? Again, this feeds nicely into, being present. Even though we're thinking about Easter, which is in the future, you can think about, well, what can I do today to prepare for Easter? Is there something I want to do? Do I want to pretend I'm having a little vacation at home, or improvise with what's in the cupboard and make something? So bring some joy into your day. Think about these occasions and what you can do that feels good, because it's okay to feel good. Right, we done those questions, Zoe?
Yep, absolutely.
Beautiful.
Tracey, that was great.
You're very welcome. You're very welcome. So I think, like we did last time, it'd be great to get, any feedback or questions or things that come up for people, and we can cover those next week, because we're coming back again next week, aren't we?
Yes. Same time, same place, same back channel, Wednesday, 11 a.m.
Same bubble.
Same bubble.
Awesome. Fantastic. Well, I trust all of that helps. Wow.
If people do, sorry, Trace.
Yeah. No, I was just going to say,
if people do have questions, they can always email them to me.
Yeah.
And my email is Zoea, ZOEA, @leukemia.org.nz.
Perfect.
And then I can pass them on to you, Trace.
Perfect. Yep. So just take what you want. Take what resonated from what we've talked about, because we covered a bit. Just take one thing and just put that into practice. So again, don't put yourself under pressure and go, right, I have to take everything Zoe and Tracey talked about and do it. No. Remember your own stock take. What do you need now? Staying in your own lane, what do you need now? And just take that and just go, putting the rest to one side. Cool. Lovely to show up again. Lovely to chat with you, Zoe. Thank you.
You too. Just messages coming in now, Tracey, saying thank you very much. It was an awesome session. Tracey, brilliant support, Tracey. Thank you.
My absolute pleasure. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Right. Go well, everyone.
Thank you.
Okay.
Bye, Tracey. Bye, LBC community.
Bye.